I'm Ryan. Some people hate conservatives.
I'm Ryan. Some people hate the liberals. We'll discuss their reasons when we return to beer and politics.
You know, Betty White really is the greatest Golden Girl. Choosy parents. Choose Jif. He's so mean. He really is. Hey Ryan, are we out of partisan again?
Why do people hate liberals?
Yeah, so before I begin the discussion, we did this for a conservative talk, but I just want to point out that when we were talking about liberals and why people hate them, we're not talking about all liberals. I have liberal friends. They don't necessarily represent the things I'm talking about. And there's different groups of liberals, right? So you have liberals, you have Democrats, you have progressives, hell, you even have socialists, green, communists. I mean, so you have all these people on the left. And they may or may not represent the things I'm talking about. But again, the idea is if you tell someone you're liberal or left or some combination of those things, and they look at you and they hate you, it's because some large group of people are doing the things that I'm going to talk about.
There's some kind of overlap in there.
Right. So the first one I'm going to start with, it's actually kind of a small group, but it's very pronounced right now. And those are the college kids. All right. These are people that largely cannot hold themselves accountable for their own feelings. They have to blame someone else. They need trigger warnings. They need safe places. They revolt when someone with a differing viewpoint comes to talk to them. And they're just pains in the ass and nobody likes them, okay? And frankly, the liberals don't even hold them accountable. I mean, I'm sure they don't appreciate it, but they don't really say much about it, at least not according to media. But that's just a small group. Let's talk about a larger group here. So one of the things I want to talk about is it was really hard to get me to this point. This was a really hard talking point for me, because I've said this to you before. If the worst thing you can say about a liberal is that they just want to help people, it's pretty good to be a liberal. If that's the worst thing anybody can say about you is you want to help people too much. It's pretty good being you. Now, there are things that people do hate even associated with that. Largely, liberals want to help people using other people's money, right? For instance, so people hate that. People hate the fact that that liberals tend to have an air of moral superiority and even intellectual superiority at this point. They are unlikable know-it-alls. They are preachy. And when I was going through all these things, my goal is to kind of boil this up to something that ties it all together. That's what, when I'm doing these talking points, that's what I'm trying to do.
Yep.
So I went through all that and I said, oh, this is it. They would rather be right than be effective. They spend so much time telling you why you're wrong. They don't realize that they need partners to be effective in our world.
That's really good.
Thank you. But it turns out that's not even really why people hate them. Because here's the problem with that. I started thinking about that. It presupposes that there's a way to be effective as a liberal. So they're going about it wrong. So I started thinking about how could they go about it. And it turns out there's no way to go about it. And the reason is because the reason people hate liberals is because they don't care about what liberals care about. That's it. And it's largely people. Okay? They don't care what liberals have to say about people. So liberals are talking and being preachy, and all the other people want them to do is shut the hell up. And it bothers them. And that's why they hate them, because they just keep repeating themselves in different ways. So let me give you an example. Let's think about Black Lives Matter.
Okay.
All right. So I'm going to give it to you the best way the conversation in my mind could have gone.
Okay.
Hey, did you know black people were dying? Yeah, so? Well, don't you think Black Lives Matter? Well, all lives matter. Okay, but did you notice they're dying at like a higher rate than other people? Well, cops are dying too. You see, the whole thing was deflection.
Right.
There was no conversation about black lives because they don't care.
Right.
They don't think there's a problem. Black Lives Matter, I guess, is kind of their response to that. They don't care what the liberals have to say. Look at the immigration ban or the Muslim ban, right? If you can't go up to someone and say, listen, tens, hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people are dying because of an illegal executive order, which clearly targets a religious group, and they say they don't want to talk about it with you, they don't care. And they don't care about people at that point. They just don't care. And you talking makes them hate you. Let's look at immigration reform. They don't want to have a discussion about that. They just want to talk about rapists and criminals and building a wall. Sure, we all agree there needs to be comprehensive reform somewhere, but it's rapists, criminals, build a wall. They do not care.
3 things is comprehensive.
Right. They don't care about what it takes to protect us from that. They think the wall will. Which is ludicrous, but they think the wall will protect us. And they don't care. So stop talking liberals because they don't care. LGBTQ community, they're looking for equality there. Not only do they not care, they actually try to pass laws that discriminate and marginalize them further. They really don't care. Women's rights. The Supreme Court ruled on Roe versus Wade over 40 years ago, and they're still trying to come up with loopholes to get around the Supreme Court. They do not care. And you talking to them sounds like a gong, 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 and they hate you for it because you think they don't understand. They understand. They just don't care. Not one iota. And so you start preaching to them because you think, well, maybe I'm not being intellectual enough. Maybe I can bring them up to my level. No, they don't care. So, as I said with the Republicans, I have a recommended reading, and that is How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Ooh. I don't think it'll make them care more, but it'll certainly make you more likable. Next round.
That was real good.
Thank you.
Cheers,
Thank you, my friend.
So I hope you forgive me again. I'm going to reiterate what he said. By no means is this all Democrats. I think or all liberals. I think it's even less all liberals because if you know anything about progressives or liberals, there are so many little factions and groups. They're so all over the place and they never talk to each other. So it's really hard to get all of them together on one thing. But it's still sort of the pervasive idea that, oh my God.
You just want to strangle
them. You just want to strangle them. So because of that, I actually went a little bit more specific. I went specifically Democrats.
Okay.
And I mean, not like voting for Hillary Clinton doesn't make you a Democrat. I mean, being a Democratic, like stalwart, like you follow the party lines.
The platform.
The platform.
Because they have one.
Yeah, you're in tow with the party. I went with that.
Okay.
This is why people hate you. Forgive me. Was up late trying to type stuff up. I don't have everything memorized here. But
I hate you.
It's fair. Well,
you can stop watching. And we're listening if you're listening.
So here's the thing. You claim to be a party of the working class, and you used to be a part of the working class. Now you're just a party of corporates. You're a bunch of corporate sellouts. You used to be a party of unions. You've gone to Goldman Sachs, and you've sold out your base. You claim to be a party of peace and human rights, and then you nominate a war hawk. You, if you look at the trade policies, if you're a party of the people, but then you support trade policies that favor corporations over their employees, what goods and services can be traded freely without taxation, but make sure to keep the people in line so that wages can't be raised. Something you talked about. You're an intellectual, and statistically speaking, considerably more liberals and people who align with the Democrats go to college, and whatever. So yes, let's assume yes, you are more intellectual.
Okay.
What do you do with that? You belittle people.
Yep.
You talk down to them. You tell them how stupid they are. You tell them, if you don't think like me, you're wrong. You don't listen to what they have to say. So what are you doing with that? You don't keep the perspective that you didn't always know, so maybe you need to teach somebody. Maybe you need to look at it as a learning experience. No, you just talk down. And you go off on people if they use the wrong words.
In fact, they paint them into a corner.
Yes.
By the way.
I know we have talked about this. We have known people who will paint someone into a corner for using the wrong words, even though they're probably someone who's going to be your ally.
Right.
But you used the wrong word because you're not as familiar with the subject, so off with your head.
Right.
You pretend that people's traditions are important. And here's the thing, having a tradition isn't inherently good for society, but it's inherently important to that person. We have traditions for a reason. They bring us to our heritage. They're where we come from. and you pretend like they have no value. You claim to understand the human condition, but overlook the humanity of those who disagree with you. You've become Republicans who favor women's rights.
Yep.
Think about this. Under the Obama administration, the foreign intervention policies, bailing out the banks and companies, not the people, and healthcare reforms are all Republican ideas. Everything has shifted to the right. So you look at these things. Yeah, we can talk about these later, but I'm kind of going through. For instance, the housing crisis, when everything went down. I mean, yes, we know this started under Bush, but this is stuff that went into policy under Obama. A lot of people were affected by that. And for a party who says you're for the people, you sure as hell bailed out a lot of banks and a lot of corporations and didn't give a damn about the people who were losing their homes. And it wasn't just your supporters. It was people you could have won over. You claim to support the will of the people, but you favor the advancement of your own power structure. Case in point, Hillary Clinton.
Yep.
You know what? I'm not saying that she is not a qualified candidate. I'm not saying that maybe she wouldn't. I'm not saying she wouldn't be a good president. Maybe she would. But with the amount of shit that she had going on, you thought she was the best choice. Guess what happened? And this is why people hate you the most of all. You compromise the values you claim to have so that you can win. And you lose. Donald fucking Trump was the nominee. Donald Trump was the nominee. And you lost. And here's the thing. It's not because more people wanted him to win.
Right.
A lot more people wanted your candidate to win, but you couldn't figure out how to win the game. You are ineffectual. And now you've got Steve Bannon in the White House. You've got Sean Spicer as the voice of the White House. You've got Rex Tillerson, an oil tycoon, as the voice of the United States abroad. And here's something else. This is how ineffectual and impotent you are. There were 55 senators who were Democrats when Obama came in over his course, and now we're down to 46. There were 256 seats in the House. You're down to 194. You were 28 governorships. Now you're at 16. And in the course of the Obama administration, across all of the across all of the state legislatures, you've lost 958 seats. And who are you talking about? Now after this monumental failure, you're looking at replacing party leadership, and who are you looking to? You're looking to, longtime Democratic stalwarts? The architects of this miserable loss? This is why people hate you. You have become a delusional failure who is counting on the changing demographics to save you because you're so far ahead of your time that the future will catch up. You're so politically correct that you alienate your potential allies as if they aren't enlightened because they feel differently, because they use the wrong words. You're planning to win your 6th Super Bowl, but you've lost sight of the 16 regular season games in front of you waiting to be played. Oh, and by the way, you're a rookie. Last call?
Cheers, my friend.
Cheers.
Amen. Preach.
Thanks for watching.
Absolutely. Thank you. Subscribe. Tell a friend. Share. Like.
We've got a Facebook page now. Like us on Facebook.
Yeah.
We'll keep you posted with fun updates that are Facebooky.
Yeah. Yep. And we love you. Just know that.
We do love you.
Till next time. It's just beer and politics.
Cheers.